This is going to be a tough update.
I grew up without a scar, just living my life.
Hi, welcome to week 25 and 26 of my pregnancy update. Warning, this could be an emotional update and one that is triggering for many people. This week I'm talking about bleeding in pregnancy, hospital admission, placental abruption. If any of those topics trigger something in you that's related to any trauma that you may have experienced, please protect yourself and think about whether it's the right thing to do to watch.
I care about them, though it hurts so bad.
Hi, I'm Hills. Welcome to Work.Life.Mum, where I talk about all things to do with being a very busy working mum with 2 little boys, with a 3rd boy on the way. This is my surprise pregnancy, so I'm capturing everything in this pregnancy journey, weekly vlogs, and I hope that you follow along with me. Week 25 was a boring week up until the last day of week 25, and I was actually thinking, what am I going to talk about on my vlog, because nothing has happened. I think the most major thing that happened was that I was constipated, and no one wants to hear about that. How I was praying for boring again, because on the 6th day I went to the bathroom, I stood up, felt like a warm gush, and I started bleeding like crazy. It was totally out of the blue. I wasn't experiencing any symptoms that would have indicated that I had trauma to the womb, anything that, you know, would have put me at risk, such as drinking or smoking or taking drugs, anything like that. And I was feeling good in myself. But the bleeding was there nonetheless. I was trying so hard not to freak out. It's really hard, isn't it, when you see bleeding, because especially at that stage of pregnancy, or really any stage of pregnancy, the last thing you want to see is bleeding. I called my husband, he came quickly, and I said, you know, we've got to get to the hospital. I know this isn't normal. My 5-year-old was there, who freaks out at any sign of blood, so I was really trying to protect him, but he was getting pretty emotional as well. Grabbed my baby heart rate monitor, and I know they tell you not to use this, and I can totally understand why, but I needed that comfort straight away, so I did the heart rate monitor. I heard the baby's heart rate, and that was enough for me to calm myself down. I called the midwife, I explained the situation, and straight away they said just come directly into the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I was in reception for like 90 seconds. They had all my details. They were totally amazing, and they directed me through to triage. Straight away the midwife was able to assess the blood loss. She could see the blood, immediately went to measure the baby's heart rate, and it took her like 10 seconds to find the heart rate, and I've got to tell you, during that 10 seconds I was thinking the worst. So much so that when she found the heart rate, I burst into tears. Like the pent up emotion of it all, the shock of it just pushed me over, and they were so lovely. Like, listen, the heart rate is good. This is not something to panic about just yet. Let's stay calm. We're gonna find out where this bleeding is coming from. And that's what they did. The doctor came and she did an internal examination similar to a smear test. So it's not comfortable. And she told me it wasn't going to be comfortable. But who cares? At that point you do whatever to find out where the bleeding is coming from. But she ruled out any kind of cervical blood vessels that might have broken, and she ruled out any other kind of trauma that might have caused bleeding, and what that left us with was placental abruption, and she said that's what she felt that it was. I think had maybe heard of that, but I didn't really know what it was. She then started to talk to me about the outcome of something like placental abruption. It wasn't reassuring. And she was saying, we've got to keep you in hospital for the time being because the main thing is that we do not want you going into labour. She was even starting to talk about baby survival rates. It was all quite a shock. I moved out of triage and into a private room, which was a birthing room. That was a good and a bad place to be. My husband took my 5-year-old to the babysitter, so he wasn't there and I was by myself in this room for like 2 hours, freaking out. I must have done a PhD level of research within that 2 hours by just Googling the shit out of everything. Again, they tell you not to do, but of course you're going to do whatever to give yourself information and a sense of control. Everything I read about placental abruption was not reassuring, but yes, they can maybe try and keep you pregnant for as long as possible, but it might involve steroid injections, you might have to stay in hospital for constant monitoring, you might be on bed rest. So I was just like, what is happening? A little while later, a midwife came in and she took my blood pressure, which had been really high earlier and had come right back down to being low blood pressure. She had done a lot of research on placental abruption and she gave me so much reassurance. I'll forever be grateful to that midwife. She told me about the percentage of placenta had to be detached before it would cause any risk to the baby, and with my bleeding I wouldn't be that far detached. She spoke about how I can, potentially reach the full term of the pregnancy without any more issues. So she just gave me so much reassurance and that helped me get, my thinking in perspective. And then by that time my husband came back. He was concerned, but at that point I was much calmer and so he was calmer as well. Then I moved on to the ward for the night, and it was actually the postnatal ward, so there was lots of little babies there. Just a surreal experience. I didn't really sleep. I was just happy to be there and to be observed and to know that if anything happened I was where theatre was and all of those other things. By the time the morning came, they had checked the baby's heart rate a number of times. They had measured the blood, which had gone from very fresh blood to older blood, which indicated the source of the bleeding had stemmed off. I had all the results back from my blood test, urine samples, everything else, and they felt confident enough that I could go home. Providing I was taking it easy, they were relatively confident that this could have been a one-off, but of course I have to be vigilant for the rest of the pregnancy. By this point I'm into 26 weeks, and on the Wednesday the baby's movement had started to slow down, and by Thursday the baby's kicks were so gentle that you couldn't feel it if you put your hand on my stomach. After speaking to the midwife, we decided to book a 4D scan, which was private, but I just wanted reassurance. The 4D scan allows you to see the placenta, and so it's a good way to understand, the damage that may have happened as a result of any abruption. Went to the 4D scan in the evening. The reason the baby's kicks were so weak is because he's breech. So I couldn't feel him kicking. I could see him kicking so clearly on the 4D scan. He is kicking into my back, so I can't really feel it. It was amazing to see everything. The placenta is not detached enough for them to see it, so it must be a tiny bit, and the bleeding associated with it was relatively minimal after that first initial gush. You could see our little baby's face, which was just joy after the end of quite a traumatic week, and he looks identical to his older brother. They do look so similar. A roller coaster 2-week update, and I know a different one. I haven't shared with you like symptoms and all of those things, and I'm sure you understand why. A real shocker of a week. Now I feel like I can start to enjoy this experience again. I'm so grateful that I'm still pregnant, and my heart just breaks, really breaks, for anyone that is in the situation where the placenta has detached more or the baby's movements haven't come back. If I experience just one tiny part of how traumatic that is, then the strength of the mothers that go through the worst case is so inspiring. let me show you the bump. So this is bump at 26 weeks and 4 days. Still feel really comfy, to be honest. Only thing is it's quite hot. I'm just continuing to wear these beach cover-ups because they're so stretchy. They're not maternity, but they're so super comfy. And here's from the left side as well. Thank you for bearing with me as I told you that somewhat traumatic story. I hope that your journeys are going smoothly. Please do share your comments down below about the stage that you're at and any experiences that you are having. If you want daily updates, please follow along on Instagram or TikTok, Work.Life.Mum. Have an amazing week, and I will see you for hopefully a boring week 27. Take care.